They went out without me. 4 of them, my closest friends, and I found out in the most painful way possible through a photo that wasn't even meant for me. A smiling group, a familiar table. The restaurant we always went to together, and right there, in the center of the picture, an empty space where I used to sit. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, it was quiet, so quiet that it hurt even more, because sometimes the worst kind of pain doesn't scream, it whispers. For years, I believed I belonged to that group. Not the funniest one, not the leader, not the one with the loudest laugh, but I was there, steady, reliable, present. I remembered birthdays. I organized dinners. I checked in when someone disappeared for a week. I was the glue, even if no one ever said that out loud. But slowly, almost silently, things started to shift. A message left on read. A conversation I wasn't included in until the last minute. Plans made in the group chat, but somehow, not for me. Small things. Tiny cracks, the kind you only notice in hindsight. At the time, I brushed everything off. They're busy. It's nothing. I'm over. But deep down, a quiet part of me knew something was changing. I just didn't want to believe it. It was a Friday night. I remember because I had just finished cooking something simple for myself, pasta, I think, music playing softly in the background, a normal night. My phone buzzed, a notification from social media. I opened it without thinking, and there it was. The 4 of them, laughing, holding drinks, at our table, at our restaurant, my seat unmistakably empty, the caption said. Finally all together and posted with a red heart emoji. All together, except for me. I stared at the picture longer than I should have, long enough to recognize the waiter, long enough to remember exactly how the wooden table felt under my hands, long enough to feel something inside me quietly fall apart. It wasn't about missing dinner. It was about what it meant. They didn't forget me. They excluded me. On purpose. I didn't cry. I didn't text. I didn't ask why. My whole body froze, like it needed time to process a new truth. My mind tried to protect me. Maybe it was last minute. Maybe they thought you were busy. Maybe someone made a mistake. But the truth was sitting right there, in the empty chair. They chose not to include me, and their choice felt louder than any explanation could have. It's strange how silence can be violent, how people can wound you without ever raising their voice, without insults, without confrontation, just absence. Absence delivered with a smile. That night, I felt something inside me break in a way that didn't make noise. A soft, internal snap. It's the kind of pain you don't tell anyone about, the kind you swallow, the kind you pretend doesn't matter. But it does. God e dois. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages from them. Not apologies, not explanations, just normal conversation memes, links, random chatter. Good morning. Did you guys see this? Let's plan something soon. I stared at the messages and something inside me went cold. They weren't sorry. They weren't hiding. They weren't nervous. They expected me to pretend nothing happened, and that hurt more than the dinner itself, because exclusion is painful. But expecting silence in return, that's cruelty wrapped in politeness. I replied politely. Short sentences, nothing emotional, but something had shifted. A line had been crossed quietly, but unmistakably. I realized I didn't want to fight for space in a group that didn't notice when I was sent there. A few days later, one of them called me, casual, friendly, unaware. We talked about work, weekend plans, the usual, and then, without thinking, he said, honestly, it all happened so fast, and someone mentioned you probably wouldn't want to come. So, we didn't insist. Someone probably didn't insist. 3 tiny phrases, but each one carried a weight I could feel in my bones. They didn't think I was worth a second message, worth a check-in. worth being included. The decision wasn't mine. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't bad timing. They simply chose convenience over consideration. And just like that, the truth settled in. I cared more about them than they ever cared about me. Not dramatically, not maliciously, just quietly. And quiet betrayal hurts the most. I didn't confront them. I didn't argue. I didn't demand explanations. I simply stepped back, not out of anger, not out of pride, out of self-respect. Some places feel warm until the moment you realize the warmth was never meant for you. You were close to the fire, but never truly invited to sit by it. And letting go quietly, gently, is sometimes the only healing available. If you've ever been excluded like this, if you've ever felt invisible among people who should have seen you, I want you to know something. You deserve to be chosen on purpose, not by accident, not as an afterthought, not as a backup, intentionally, openly, honestly. And if this story touched you, consider subscribing. Here, your silent wounds have a voice, and your presence truly matters.